I'm feeling blessed to be here, actually.
Okay. Have you had breakfast as yet?
Not yet, but
Not
I
yet.
will.
Okay. I think it's too early. Every time I have a guest in studio and I ask if they've already had breakfast, they often say no, not yet. Maybe it's too early for breakfast, or it's never too early.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, because I know some people want permission to eat their fufu at 7 a.m. And we'll talk about that also, the types of food that can impact oral hygiene. Yes, kukwa like this. Kukwa, doesn't hesitate to eat banku or fufu at 7 a.m. in the morning. Doc will be educating us on some of these food choices and how they can affect our oral hygiene. But Doc, again, good morning and welcome to 3FM Sunrise. When we talk about oral hygiene, the first thing that pops up, in my mind is brushing of teeth. But I know there's a lot more that encapsulates oral hygiene. So what exactly do we mean when we say oral hygiene?
Okay, so when we talk about oral hygiene, it includes all the processes we do to keep our teeth and the oral tissues healthy. Okay, so
Right.
it encapsulates the teeth brushing, flossing, regular visits to the dental clinic, as well as the use of mouthwash for daily rinses. Okay.
Okay.
So oral hygiene just doesn't have to dwell in the dental clinic. It has majority of its role being played by the individual at home.
Right.
Okay. So when it comes to teeth brushing, we first of all want to look at the various things we use to brush our teeth. Okay. So we have the toothbrush.
That's
then
right.
we have the toothpaste. Okay, so for the toothbrush, the recommended toothbrush is a soft or medium toothbrush in terms of the bristles.
Okay.
For the size and the handle design is to the individual's preference. But for the bristles, that's what the dentist is interested
The
in.
soft or medium?
Yes, please.
I thought that maybe, dentists would be recommending the hard one, because you want to really clean every crevice. So you want something hard so that it will, the enamel, you get it shining and sparkling. But I think,
That's
Doc,
not
the way
the
you are
case.
shaking your head,
No, that's
it's not the case. All
at
right.
all. Okay, it's not about the energy or the strength you use to brush your teeth. It's actually about the technique. So that's what we'll talk
Okay.
about today.
And of course, we'll also have a demonstration because we're also streaming live on Facebook. So, hello, good morning. If you're watching us on Facebook, Doc will be demonstrating to you and I how we can effectively practice good oral hygiene with the brushing and so on and so forth. Okay, so with the toothbrush, you say soft to medium bristles. Okay.
Okay, so when it comes to the toothpaste, we have what we call the fluoridated toothpaste and the non-fluoridated toothpaste. We recommend the fluoridated toothpaste for a majority of the population. Okay.
Okay.
The non-fluoridated toothpaste are actually recommended for people with fluorine, that's fluoride, in their water, in their milk, and in their food. Too much of fluoride in the body can actually cause a condition known as fluorosis, which is
Okay.
detrimental to our health. So in communities where they have excess fluoride, we advocate that they use the non-fluoridated toothpaste. But for majority of the population in Ghana, we do not have fluoride in our milk, in our food, majority of our foods, or in our water by the water company. So
Okay.
we advocate for the fluoridated toothpaste because
Okay.
fluoride actually helps protect the tooth. It has a protective function over the tooth.
Okay. So that's the overview when we talk about at least what to look out for in terms of the toothbrush and the
then
toothpaste. Okay. What about some of the other brushing implements that some people use? Of course, we haven't always used the toothbrush, for example. People use other means to clean their teeth. Is this recommended by dentists? Is there something other than a toothbrush that dentists may recommend?
Okay, dentists will, majority of dentists will recommend the toothbrush, but for our local methods like the chewing sponge,
Yes.
it's not so bad. But the world has moved on.
So we should also move on.
Exactly.
Doc says we should also move on.
Yeah.
But some people will believe that some of the traditional methods are more effective than maybe using the modern toothbrush.
I doubt to differ.
What about, for example, some people use charcoal to clean their teeth. I've seen that in action, and you see now people, or shall I say, companies are modernizing it. Or they've put a twist on the charcoal. You've got these brands that have incorporated it somehow in the toothpaste. Yeah.
So when it comes to the toothpaste, there's actually an ingredient that is more abrasive that helps to clean the tooth surface. And
Okay.
charcoal is an example of an abrasive ingredient.
All
so
right.
if it's your toothpaste is even charcoal toothpaste, it still has that abrasive ingredients to clean the tooth. So
Okay.
I do not actually put that aside. It could
Okay,
be
okay.
used.
So that is also contained in a number of the sort of tooth cleaning products that we have.
Products,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
All right. Now, some of you are listening to us this morning. The toothbrush you are using, the toothbrush you used this morning, the toothbrush you will use later on this evening, you've had it for a very long time. I'm not naming any names. Some of you, again, you've had the toothbrush for far too long. Doc is smiling at me this morning because I think you're going to give us some revelations on how long one must keep a toothbrush for before they change it.
Okay, so ideally we are supposed to keep our toothbrush for 3 months and
For
change it.
3 months
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
3 months only. Somebody has had their toothbrush maybe for 12 months, almost a year even.
That's bad.
That's bad. Okay, so as an individual that is determined to have good oral hygiene, Doc, you're saying that you should keep your toothbrush only for 3 months. Why is that, Doc?
So the toothbrush actually cleans the mouth, and you know the mouth already has natural oral flora, bacteria. Okay, so when bacteria change environments, they can multiply or and grow.
Right.
Okay, so when we use a toothbrush for more than 3 months, we accumulate some of the bacteria, even though we rinse it after brushing. So that's just one point. And also the bristles weaken over time.
Okay.
Okay. So and you know the bristles are what is actually cleaning the tooth surfaces. So when the material it's sparse in a way, you got to change it. Also, you will not be having effective cleaning.
Gotcha.
As the days
And
go
Doc
by.
is holding up a toothbrush in her hand. So this one is a healthy looking toothbrush. All the bristles are intact. You can see that, Doc. Show it to our camera there. This is a healthy looking toothbrush. I was going to bring an unhealthy looking one so that we can juxtapose the two. But you go to some people's house, the bristles, there are only 5 left. That's how long they have kept the toothbrush for. Only 5 bristles left. So again, this morning, you finish brushing your teeth. When you go home, in fact, on your way home, buy a new toothbrush as per Doc's specifications, soft to medium feel bristles. Go and throw that 12-month, 15-month, 18-month toothbrush that has only 5 bristles left away. Okay, but Doc, we've talked about the toothbrush. So let's say you are diligent in changing your toothbrush. I have to say that I am. In fact, I rotate my toothbrushes very frequently. Some people in the studio want to say they do same, but I suspect them. How do we keep the toothbrush clean in the bathroom? What's the best way to do it? Most people will have it in a cup or in some type of holder, at the mercy of whatever is happening in the bathroom there, be it maybe dust, whatever the case may be. How do we keep our toothbrushes clean?
So when it comes to the toothbrush, because we want it, when we are done using it, it's mostly wet, it's moist.
That's
okay,
right.
so the best thing is to dry it for the bristles to even regain a strength after being soft. Okay, so
Okay.
we recommend that you leave it in an open, dry place. Okay, not with a tooth cover.
No
But-
tooth cover.
No, not
Okay.
an airtight tooth cover.
Okay.
Okay, because we want to allow time for it to dry. This is because of bacterial growth also.
Okay.
When we create a conducive atmosphere or environment for the bacteria, they can easily reproduce and cause infection. So we advocate that you dry it in an open place. Even if you use a cover, it should be
One of the ones with the
with the
holes.
holes within. Yeah,
Okay.
those ones too can be used, but we are against the ones that are airtight.
Okay.
'cause-
So some people will do that soon after brushing. They'll put that airtight cover on their wet. And if you're listening to us this morning, you can see how that would be a breeding ground for bacteria.
Exactly. And even the
Yeah.
smell, you don't allow time for it to dry.
Oh,
so it starts
Doc,
to smell.
Doc. We're going through a lot. But some more demonstrations to follow from Doc. What are some of the implications or what can happen if we don't keep up good oral hygiene? You know, for some people, the implications might not be too visible now, but I know that in the long term, you could face some serious consequences if you don't keep on top of the teeth brushing, flossing, mouthwash, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so the most common in our Ghanaian community is dental caries, what we refer to as tooth decay, in our local dialect as kaka.
Kaka, okay.
Yeah. So tooth decay actually comes up because of food we eat, which contains majority of sucrose, okay, the table sugar. So bacteria, which is normal in our mouth, acts or feeds on the excess sugar in our mouth, okay, over time, and
Right.
produce an acid which wears up the tooth, creating those cavities in our mouth. Okay, so mostly because the cavities are is progressive, it starts in the first layer, which we know as the enamel. So
Okay.
in that layer there's no pain, so most people don't come to the clinic even when they don't even notice they are
You won't be able to feel
developing
it.
cavities. Exactly. So when it moves into the second layer, which is the dentine, that layer is very sensitive because of the nerve endings. In that layer they start having sensitivity to cold water, hot foods, and they report to the clinic at that stage.
That's when you drink something cold and you say, "Ish, somebody say kiki me."
Exactly.
The teeth is very sensitive.
Sensitive.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So at that stage, we can do a filling to correct it. Okay. But when it progresses to the other chamber where the blood vessels and nerves are, putting a filling that will irritate the tooth. So now we have to do a treatment. And dental treatments are costly.
Very.
They cost a lot. So it's not advisable that you wait till it gets to that third layer before you report to the clinic. You must come immediately through your regular dental visits every 6 months. That's what we advocate for.
Doc, every 6 months we should go and see a dentist. And what is the dentist looking out for in those 6 months or in that visit?
Okay, so when you come to the clinic for your regular 6 months visits, we do basic cleaning.
Okay.
Because it's recommended. As we eat, food accumulates in the interdental spaces, the spaces in between the teeth. Okay, so when it's over time, it solidifies into what we call calculus. So sometimes when people smile in public, you see this yellow thing in
Is that
between
what
the
they also
teeth.
call plaque?
Exactly. So plaque is the initial process. When
Okay.
it hardens,
Okay.
it forms the calculus. That's the toothbrush does not take it away. No matter how hard you brush, it's only the dental ultrasonic machine that can take away that. So when you come for the 6 months review, we do that basic cleaning for you. Then we also examine you. If you have caries, do you have bad breath, do you have any other conditions relating to the gum and the supporting structures of the tooth, then we take the treatment on from there.
Okay, so we talked about plaque, buildup of food in the mouth, and so on and so forth as being some of the unsavory symptoms of not keeping up with the oral hygiene. Something that is also very important is bad breath. Halitosis, is that also a product of not keeping up with good oral hygiene practices?
Yes.
And how does that work in the most basic way? If you explain it to us, how does we know that when you wake up in the morning, for example, if you haven't brushed your teeth, you can have some mouth odor. Some people's a bit more extreme than others. For most people, once they've brushed the teeth in the morning, they are good to go. For the most part, it smells at least a bit fresher. But others will develop the bad breath to the point that sometimes the interventions are not enough.
Exactly. So when it comes to bad breath, mouth odor, we have different types. Just as you said, we have the physiologic. It happens to everyone in the morning after waking up. Then we have the true halitosis, those with the condition. Okay, and when researchers did their research, they came up with the major cause of halitosis being related to dentistry, okay, the mouth. But there are other causes, okay. The source of the bad breath could be from other parts of the body, but majority comes from the mouth. And even in investigating which parts of the mouth the bad breath could come from, they realize that it's mostly the tongue. Okay, people brush their teeth and forget to brush their tongue.
Okay.
So the posterior part of the tongue is where majority of the bacteria resides, and they feed in there and produce sulfur, what we call sulfur compounds. So those sulfur compounds, the smell is so offensive. So that's what comes out as bad breath.
Okay.
So failure to keep our oral hygiene in check could lead to bad breath. So when you report to the clinic, we first do our investigations. It could actually even be due to a cavity. that
So
has gone
cavities
so
can
deep.
can cause halitosis.
Yes.
Okay.
Because once there's a hole, food accumulates. You don't swallow everything. As you chew, the food lodges in within those cavities. And with time, they decay and cause that smell too. So it could be cavities. It could be even not flossing, because the brush does not go in between the gums.
That's right.
That's what the floss does. So it could come from that. And certain people with certain gum diseases too, the food debris is able to accumulate in what we call the sockets, the gingival sockets.
Okay.
And with time, it produces that smell. So halitosis is actually not so difficult to treat, but if you pay attention to your oral hygiene, you can put it in check.
Lovely. So once you've sort of found out where the root cause is, you can go in, rectify that issue.
Yes.
Okay, so all is not lost. If you are, somebody that's suffering with halitosis, it's curable. You don't have to be shy. Do visit the dentist. It could be coming from the gums, your tongue, maybe cavities, also inside your teeth that is collecting food debris. Some people say, my dad used to say it's coming from inside the head.
Exactly.
Okay, is there a connection then with the oral hygiene on the head, or is that a separate issue altogether?
No, there's actually a connection. So when we take the human head, we have what we call the empty spaces. That is the sinus. Okay.
There's some people have a lot of empty spaces, but that's just by the way. So you
So
have
the
some empty
sinus-
spaces in the head,
Exactly.
yes.
So inflammation of the lining of that sinus can cause bad breath. So when
Right.
you come to the clinic and we exclude all the other causes in your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
we actually take a scan to see the maxillary sinus, whether there's inflammation. Then we put on a medication, like a therapy.
Okay.
Then we review you to see the improvements.
Okay, so there are other
Other
factors
causes
to
from the lungs, from the digestive
Okay.
system, even from certain foods we eat, especially onion,
Yes.
garlic. They produce this strong smell.
That's right.
Their excretes are not immediately excreted from the body. They stay over for a very long time. So if you notice those who chew garlic
Yeah.
raw, when they pass by you, you can smell, because it's excreted.
It
even
comes
their
out of the
sweat.
pores, yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So bad breath has a lot of contributing factors to it. Yeah.
All right. Well, time check. It is exactly some 9 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. You're still tuned into 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. It's a Monday morning, so of course, we're zooming into our health and in particular our mouths. We're talking about oral hygiene. I have Dr. Anne in the studio with me. She says you should be changing your toothbrush every 3 months, okay? If you haven't done so in the last 3 years, this is a cautionary tale. You could be suffering from halitosis, have deep cavities, and so on and so forth. Doc, so when it comes to teeth brushing, there's a proper way to do it and an improper way to brush your teeth. And you have with you some implements. So this is a makeshift mouth that has the gums and also the teeth. So if you show it up to the camera, there we go. We're live on Facebook as well, so tune in and see that demonstration. So Doc, how do we go about brushing our teeth effectively? Also talking about the duration. Some people go into the bathroom, ready, set, prep. Within 10 seconds, they say they finish brushing their teeth. I've heard from different dentists, you should brush for about the duration of a song even. 3 minutes plus. Is that true?
Okay, so the recommended is actually 2 minutes. That's if you are good with a technique and
Okay.
you've mastered it. You should be able to do that in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, okay.
Okay, so when it comes to toothbrushing, first of all, you need your soft or medium bristle toothbrush. Then you take a smear of your toothpaste, your fluoridated toothpaste. The toothpaste shouldn't be too much, just a smear. Okay, like a peanut-sized toothpaste.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, we have what's the common technique everyone is used to here
Back
in
and forth,
Ghana.
back and forth, back and forth. That's what I mean, Doc. That's how I most of the time
Yeah.
back and forth. Okay.
Call it the horizontal, but that is actually detrimental to the tooth
It's
tissue.
detrimental to the tooth.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What it does is that as we go back and forth, we are wearing off the tooth tissue. The tooth has a part where it meets the gum line. Okay, so when we continue to brush in that horizontal motion,
Right.
we end up creating cavities
I
and
see.
dips in that area of the tooth. Okay, so we normally advocate that for children, okay, we will not be able to tell them to align the toothbrush in any angle to brush. So for children, we advocate that they use the what we call the circular motion
Okay.
to brush the tooth. So with the brush angulated like 90 degrees just on the surface of the tooth, you go in circles.
Go in circles. So if you're watching us on Facebook,
for children,
you can see Doc doing that. If you're listening to us on your way to go and buy a new toothbrush, Doc is saying for children, you can use that circular motion. So you're not really touching that gum area, are you?
Exactly.
Okay, so circular
just
motion.
the tooth surface in circular motion.
Okay, no,
that's
none of that back and forth, circular
Not at
motion.
all.
All right,
Circular
okay.
motion. But for adults, we recommend the most common one is the what we call the buzz technique.
Buzz technique.
Yes.
Okay.
So with the toothbrush, you align it 45 degrees. Okay, 45 degrees in this way.
Doc, you are laughing because
gum.
you know this calculation, dear. When
you slant the toothbrush. Okay. So you sweep away from the gum. Okay.
You sweep away from the gum. All right.
Your brush should be soft. So when you engage the brush on the tooth surface, the bristles enter the crevices of the tooth.
Okay.
This way, as demonstrated.
Right. Okay.
Then you sweep away from the gum.
Okay.
Because we don't want to cause injury to the gum. We want to make sure our cleaning is effective. So you can engage in there, do a vibratory motion, then sweep away from the gum. That is for the upper jaw.
Right.
So when it comes to the lower jaw, still in the same angulation, we sweep away
upwards.
Yes.
Okay. As per Doc's demonstration, if you are watching us on Facebook, so you sweep upwards. Okay.
Exactly. Then we have the Stillman's technique. For that, we also want to engage the gum and the tooth in the cleaning. So in that case, we align the toothbrush half of the bristle should be on the gum surface, and half on the tooth surface we see in our mouth. Then we do the same motion, vibratory and sweeping away from the gum. Okay. Then we have those who wear the braces.
That's right.
Cleaning that tooth surface can be very difficult and uncomfortable for them. So they can align the toothbrush 90 degrees.
Okay.
And clean the crown. What we see in the mouth, the part of the tooth is the crown. So they can do this and clean.
Sure.
In strokes. So in 15 to 20 strokes. Cleaning like 3 to 4 teeth at a time.
Okay.
All this should be done in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So that's why I said if you've mastered the technique, you can do this within
2 minutes.
We don't advocate for the horizontal brushing. The only time you can do the horizontal brushing is on the chewing surfaces.
Okay. So you open your mouth wide, and then on the flat surfaces, the chewing surfaces, you can use that horizontal motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we know the tooth has different surfaces, what we are seeing and what the tongue touches as it lies in the mouth. So those surfaces too is the same angulation, sweeping away from the gum.
I know many people don't brush that part of their teeth.
That's bad.
That's bad. I know. I'm not naming any names, but I am certain of it. Okay. And then that's the motion. And then what about the tongue as well? So
the tongue is the last thing we mostly clean. So we can wash off the toothpaste from your brushing. For those who have the gagging effect, you can rinse majority of the toothpaste from the brush. Then you brush your tongue.
Okay.
That way. I don't have the tongue yet, so you brush that way. Okay. And we also have now there are modifications to the toothbrushes. Some toothbrushes come with a tongue scraper behind it.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can brush with this side, then you turn over to the tongue scraping side and scrape your tongue with that portion. Or you can buy a separate tongue scraper to clean
your mouth. All right, Doc. Well, that was very comprehensive. We've learned some new things this morning, especially with the technique. To be honest, I didn't really know too much about the circular motion. You know, for the kids, the mommy or daddy will just grab your face, and it's that same horizontal motion that they use. But it's important that we practice good oral hygiene, because a number of diseases can spring up from the mouth, and then you've got to fork out big monies. As you mentioned, dental care is not cheap, so prevention is definitely better than cure in this instance. But Doc, any final words about keeping our mouths clean?
Okay, so to conclude, I'll advocate that we make it an effort to brush our teeth twice
a day
and evening.
Sure.
Okay, using the right texture of the toothbrush, soft to medium bristles, with fluoridated toothpaste. This should be done within 2 minutes. We also advise that you come to the clinic regularly for your 6-month visits, annual visits, so
Lovely.
we can be able to identify the dental conditions right in time. We also advocate that you continue to floss your teeth after every meal. You know, the brush does not go within all the spaces within the tooth. So we have the dental floss being sold in the supermarkets and pharmacies. You get that and clean in between your teeth instead of using the toothpick.
Okay.
That
Lovely.
causes injury to the gum, so it's advisable you use a dental floss.
All right, we've learned so much this morning, Doc. Thank you so much for your time. Our guest today on the My Health segment was Dr. Anna Adams from Mark's Dental Clinic. Doc, thank you, and thank you for that demonstration as well. And it is exactly 10 a.m. Time for us to sign out, say adios, au revoir, and goodbye to you all. Thank you so much for your company.